Or am I? Welcome to the Guide to Movies podcast. I am Joe. He is Sean. Ace is with us. First off, Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing just so wonderful, realizing that we're in the midst right now of a snowstorm, and it was like the original quarantine because you can't leave the house, and I'm eating everything in sight.
This morning.
Wait, hold on. I did not add my Instagram name, and it's still early. Can we change that?
Go for it.
Do it.
All right. How do I do that? How do I do that?
Go to your cam mic and nope, I lied. You're gonna have to log back out and log back in.
All right. Sorry about that.
There's a little thing on there.
All right. I'm coming.
Okay. Technical pauses here. We'll start that over. Oh, Ace. All right. Let me share this on the Facebooks while we're
It's
at
on
it.
there, I think.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, because I always try to post it right away so that people can see the entire show, because otherwise if they miss the first 5 minutes, it's just pointless.
The entirety of the joy.
Yeah. You have to catch everything.
If you miss the previews, you're out. Oh, Ace is back. All right.
Back.
Look at you. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start over again real quick, just because I don't feel like editing tonight. So welcome to the Guide to Movies podcast with Joe and Sean. That's the title of our podcast. We took a week off, Sean, so I'm a little rusty here.
I am too. I mean, I just realized how excited I am to get to podcasting again, that Sam has kept me in the guest room for the past couple of days.
Why did she keep you in the guest room?
Well, just because I have a lot of energy to burn, and there's a treadmill in here, so it just works.
There you go. Perfect. Ace, how's it going? Welcome back.
Good. Yeah. Thanks for having me back. Wheeling and dealing as usual, getting my life in order. It's an uphill battle right now for everybody, but that's what it is.
If you figure out how to get that life thing in order, please let us know about it.
Yeah, I'll get back to everybody on that.
Let's get some hot tips.
Yeah. That'll be the tips coming out at the end of the episode. It's a bonus. Also, all right, so we did take a week off. We needed a bit of a week off, but also at the same time, there really was no news last week. We made up for it this week. We have quite the agenda to get to. So we're going to start diving into it with the films that we've been watching and sort of our top picks of the week or recent watches that we want to comment on. So I'm going to start off and first talk about Robin Wright's directorial debut, which is Land. She also stars in this movie. And I just was very delighted by it. It was a lot of fun. Not a lot of fun. That's the wrong terminology. It was very well done and very enjoyable. The topic is not fun. It starts off very melancholic and then kind of rolls into a redemption rebuilding story. It's very familiar in terms of the story that it follows, but the performance by Wright is just phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. She was stunningly good. So I definitely would recommend that when it hits theaters and VOD on February 12th. And the other one I watched, which I just posted the review for it and I'm still kind of mulling it over in my head, was Bliss. And Bliss is hitting Amazon Prime Video on Friday. It stars Salma Hayek and Owen Wilson. It's a very interesting movie about like a divorced father who also gets fired and then meets Salma Hayek, who is she lives on the street and believes that the world around us is a simulation. So it's interesting. It has some people compare it to The Matrix a lot because of some of the things that they can do when they tap into whatever. But for me, I kind of read it as an allegory for drug addiction. And I think Owen Wilson's performance was particularly incredible. And I do think that it was a cathartic experience for him based on his personal issues that he's been dealing with over the years. So it's right in the middle for me. There was parts of it where I'm like, this is really slow and I don't know what's going on. I'm not really into this. But then by the end of it, I was like, oh man, this has some heart and it's touching. So definitely check that out on Amazon Prime. It is very, very interesting. Friday it is.
All right.
And then Sean, you spent some time with Mr. JT, huh?
I spent some time with Justin Timberlake in the movie Palmer, which when I saw the trailer of this, I said, oh boy, I'm definitely watching this because it is going to be an absolute car wreck. You got Justin Timberlake, who's a great actor, but is trying to work emotion. You have, just this like story that seems very cheesy, very corny, and man, was I wrong. This movie was wonderful. Now, if you are going to be someone that says that it's cheesy and corny and kind of like, a little bit just not your cup of tea, that's totally fine. I actually completely get it. But I think this movie does those aspects of it in a much, much better light than we usually see, and delivers it much better. Fisher Stevens is directing this movie, which I'd never thought I'd hear directed by Fisher Stevens, but and maybe he's directed before, but I've never heard of one that he's directed. This is just like, he makes it very beautiful, and Justin Timberlake delivers. I never thought he was a bad actor, but I did not think he could hold the weight of this type of performance, and he does so just perfectly. It's unbelievable. Then I saw Little Things. Joe, back to you.
Let's wait on the little things.
Let's wait on the little things.
Yeah, I can talk about that too. Wait, is Palmer already out on Apple?
It is.
It is. All right, cool.
Yeah,
I gotta get that this weekend.
Oh, sorry, last weekend.
Last weekend. All right.
This past weekend.
All right. I'll catch up on that one.
Ace, talk to us about what you watched.
All right, so I'm setting up, right? My end goal, I love the movie review thing, but ultimately I want to produce feature films. And I think the best path forward for me to do that is to produce ultra low budget independent films and then kind of work my way up. So I've been focused on some of those movies. So I watched Christopher Nolan's very first movie. I believe it's his directorial debut. It's called Following. Have you guys ever seen that? Have you guys seen it?
So.
It's awesome. Movie, It's only 70 minutes. You can rent it for like $4 on Amazon Prime, and they did it on a $7,000 budget.
Oh, wow.
And I think 1998, and it's as good of a movie as any movie I've seen recently. I don't want to give too much of it away, but it's basically about a dude who's bored. So for fun, he just starts following people. One of the dudes he's following turns around and is like, "Hey, why are you following me?" That guy is a home invader. He just kind of breaks into people's houses. He's kind of like a con artist type. And then it becomes like almost like a cat and mouse, who's trying to screw over who. And it's told in a unique way, like Christopher Nolan style, where it's kind of taken, where they tell it from where there's like flash forwards and flashbacks, and you know that certain things are going to happen and you're trying to fill in the gap, but you can't really see how it happens. I think that's how they keep you engaged throughout the whole movie. So that was great. And the fact that they did it on a $7,000 budget meant a lot. Are you guys getting echo feedback?
Not at all. You sound great.
Okay, it's just myself, I guess, when I'm talking. All right. Then next movie I watched, I went and I hit Star Trek Insurrection. Fire. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it's the one where Patrick Stewart and the Star Trek guys have to fight the Borg. And for people who don't know, the Borg are kind of like these robo alien hive mind people, and they try to capture you and take your DNA and add it to the Borg hive mind. I say the best part of that movie is Patrick Stewart's got this android named Data, and there's this really creepy love scene between the android and the Borg leader. I don't think that's going to ruin it for everybody. Can I do my impression of it? You guys?
Oh boy, yeah.
That might ruin it.
This is my impression of the Borg situation. The Borg leader is like, Data, she's like, Data, you're a perfect being trying to be more perfect. Therefore, you will never be a perfectly android person. And he's like, you cannot disrupt my systems. I'm an android. And then she's like, but what about this? If I give you skin? And then she blows on it, and he has like a robot orgasm. And then then it goes down. And then it goes down. I don't want to ruin it, but it's good stuff. Take my word for it. It's good stuff.
I'd just like to say that I have two people that usually like to watch this on Facebook. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. How you doing?
They're old enough
to know about robot orgasms.
Have you guys seen it?
I have not. No,
I have. It's been a while though. It definitely.
It holds up. I think I watched that one on Netflix, and I rented The Following for $4.
Look at you.
It's great. It's great.
Well, hey, the nice thing about having all these streamers right now is being able to go back and watch some of these films that maybe we missed in the past, or, even having access to VOD. It's nice to be able to grab some of those movies that we haven't seen before, or even ones that we did from the past and want to revisit. I mean, the number of times that I've done that with films that I watched when I was like a teenager, and now I appreciate them so much more. Countless times. Sadly, though, I don't think any of those movies are going to make it into the Golden Globes or Academy Awards this year. But Sean, tell us a little bit about your column this week for Awards Watch with Sean.
So thank you so much for bringing that up. My lovely column on guyatthemovies.com. I went to 3 specific categories because I haven't talked about these categories yet. And those are Best Documentary, Best Animated Feature, and Best International Film. At this point, there's front runners for all of them that are very clear. Best documentary is the only one that has there's 10 possible films that could meet the top 5, but it seems like Time is winning most of the awards, and so the Amazon documentary Time will probably has the most momentum right now to take home the top prize. When it comes to best animation, Pixar did a movie about your feelings. Soul is probably going to be winning the top spot, but there is a 5% chance, a 10% chance for Apple TV's Wolfwalkers. Haven't heard of it? Yeah, that's probably why there's only a 5 to 10% chance, but it is winning a lot of animated guilds underneath, Soul winning some of the top prizes. So for that, there is this slight chance, but if you have a lot of money, bet it on Soul. Lastly is the best international film, and I am ashamed to say I have not watched a lot of these selections yet. When they bring out a short list, I'll go harder on those. But the top prize, it doesn't matter because the top prize is going for another round. It is the Mads Mikkelsen movie about teachers that get drunk so they could be better at their jobs. And it's the movie that's on a lot of top 10 lists, winning a lot of awards as well. And the other films, there could be a few others that fight for it, but that's going to probably be the top spot for that one. But as you said, Joe, the Golden Globes are coming up very shortly, actually tomorrow, yeah. So my next column will be about Golden Globe nominations and how sometimes they have nothing to do with the Oscars and how sometimes they can break the Oscars completely. It's fun either year, it could be interesting.
How are they even doing it? Yeah, how are they doing award shows this year?
Well, the good old Oscars and the good old Golden Globes are going to be in, I believe, March and April, because they're thinking by then this pandemic's going to be fine, which we all know is bullshit. So I think that they're going to end up having to two things could happen. They could literally keep delaying the ceremonies, or they could eventually do what the Emmys did and do a distance, which, by the way, was not that big of a deal. People still had fun. It was a bummer that people couldn't be together and accept awards on a stage. And that, I mean that genuinely, but I think there has to be a reality set in where I do not think that will be happening with the Oscars and the Golden Globes, but who knows?
The Golden Globes are actually going to be on February 28th. So
they are that early.
Yeah. They're usually January. So
yeah,
it is a pushback.
The Oscars are going to plummet this year. The ratings, I think, have been getting worse and worse every year. This year, I guaranteeing an all-time low.
That is honestly, but yeah, that's always the case. And then you look at it's not the Oscars, it's cable. And cable is just consistently at an all-time low. I mean, if you think about it, it's still one of the 5 best cable events that happen. And it's one of those things where, yeah, it's still way lower than it was in the 90s, way lower than it was in the aughts, way lower than it was in the teens probably. But it keeps on getting lower. But I think it's more of a situation where, technically I don't watch the Oscars, but, Sam's parents watch the Oscars twice because we take their passwords for cable. And and I think that that's the case for a lot of younger people like me. And I do agree the interest of it is kind of waning, but it's still one of those things where it's still there's still interest there, in other words.
Well, and the other thing with it that is going to be a little bit of a challenge is last year Parasite winning really upset a lot of the old white people that are part of the community.
Who was upset?
The old white people.
Yeah. How do you know that?
Well, I would say that one of the main reasons why is that there were a lot of people that loved certain other of the classic Hollywood movies that were this year, the Irishman, if you will. There are people that sort of don't want to go for an international film, and so people were upset about that. That's why I thought, or the 1917 was the big one.
Where are you getting this from? Where are you reading this? What's your source?
I mean, we'll have to deliver the sources to you, but one of the things I can tell you is from being in a room with a bunch of individuals and hearing conversations, that was some of the feedback, that it would never happen, that it was relegated to the international or best international film or whatever that category is. I get them confused with every one of them. But when it did win, there were audible groans. So
yeah. I'll say Ace.
Oh, really?
My sources
in the room. I didn't hear him. I was pumped. I thought it was a great movie.
Oh no, and I think
I know. I'm not saying you guys are.
Yeah, a lot
groaning.
of people our age were pumped because we saw the future of cinema. We saw a great movie there.
Right.
I think there were just some people that wanted a war movie to win again, or wanted, a gangster movie to win again, because that has won in the past. So if you say my sources, that is true. I don't have sources, but my sources are the patterns of how the Oscars have won in the past, where it is just sort of one of these things where, always there's this really great, I think about, I'll go right off the bat, Fargo versus The English Patient. Everyone wanted the sweeping World War I drama, or sweeping World War II drama. And that movie was, but instead of like the crime movie, that was a little bit different and kind of a comedy, but also people were getting killed, and that seemed weird at the time. And so I just think that often it's the Oscars go for something that is a little bit more bland at sometimes. And no disrespect to 1917, but that's, this was fascinating that something like Parasite took home the prize.
And a lot of people too. I just Googled an article real quick because I remember this happening, but people were linking Parasite to virus originating in China for some god awful racist reason.
It was North Korea. It was Korea. Okay.
Not the same places for anybody listening.
Yeah. So interesting stuff going on, but read more about all that when you are checking out the Awards Watch article every Monday. It is wonderful. It's always a joy to read. I learn something every week. And tomorrow morning we'll learn the Golden Globe nomination. So I will be up and live tweeting them and probably texting with Sean, and we'll see.
Why aren't you going to text me?
Because you live in LA.
You can still text me. You can still text me.
The phone will just be vibrating on a nightstand.
I'll be a little late. I keep it on silent. You won't wake me. You won't wake me.
Oh my gosh. Well,
I get
maybe
up at 6. I'm one of those. I'm one of those people.
Yeah, I don't like you anymore. All right, but I was going to have a good transition here. I don't have one, but let's jump into the news. We're going to start with The Matrix 4 getting a title that was potentially leaked, which I think is hilarious. And I bring up this pod or this website a lot, but Slash Film is used to be one of my main go-to websites for movie news. Still is one that I love to frequent. They have great podcasts. They joked about this on April Fool's Day in 2009, saying that it was The Matrix 4 is in production and it's going to be The Matrix Resurrections. But basically what happened is a hairstylist who was working on The Matrix 4 posted an Instagram story or an Instagram video that showed a jacket that was given to the cast and crew. It's kind of a cool jacket. Has like the Matrix symbols and such inside, which are, if I remember correctly, it's like sushi recipes. I think they originally said it was.
Yes, I do remember that.
But on the thank you card, it says, "Thank you for being a part of Matrix Resurrections." So, Ace, are you a Matrix fan?
Love the Matrix. I love them.
And how do you feel about the fourth one coming out with the title?
I think they're gonna blow it. Just period. I think it was perfect. Just leave it alone. Just some of the great things you should just let them be. My hope is that I'm wrong. Like, I don't want to be right about this, and obviously I'm gonna go see it because, first of all, it's gonna be delivered to my bedroom, which I think is a real shame too, because The Matrix, the whole franchise, is definitely a movie that should be seen on a big screen. That's a fact. So if you have access to you and you're and you feel comfortable and safe doing it, I strongly recommend that. Yeah, the bottom line is I think they're going to blow it. I hope I'm wrong. I feel bad for the, I think she was a costume designer or makeup person that did that. I'm sure she feels awful because I checked her IMDb and she had some other credits of things, but nothing as big as something like The Matrix. That's tough to beat. I think the first one was great. The second one was just as good. That scene where Morpheus kills the ghost guys, and he slices the side of the car. That's classic. The last one was cool, but it just, I understand the point of the movie that he's like really breaching the Matrix and kind of becomes a superhero level person. But at that point, it was like, I don't know. But I still liked it. What could they possibly do? What are they going to do now? Like, what do you think the plot is going to be of this?
Resurrections gives you an interesting, I think, direction on where they're going with things, especially because it seems like with the casting of Yahya that they are moving into like a, maybe a resurrection of Morpheus or something like that. So I don't know where they're going with it. But Sean, do you think this is, number one, do you think this was an intentional leak for publicity? But number two, even if it wasn't, no, publicity is good publicity.
I think this was not an intentional leak because normally this is followed up a few hours with like the official announcement that we always planned. Like it was just like that wouldn't be shown. In this case, they didn't do that. So this feels manufactured's not the right way, but maybe it was a first draft at something, or maybe it is just straight up fake. I think that's a terrible title, but at least they didn't go with The Matrix like Scream is doing with their fifth movie.
It's back to basics. There's a reason.
Okay.
They're calling it The Scream.
No, they're just calling it Scream. Like again, like the first one. But I can't. Oh my god! All right, well, we're not getting into that. But I'm rooting for this movie. I think I'm with Ace on this, where it doesn't seem like they've taken the time to let this pay off. I mean, I know it's been a while since the last one was released, but it just seems like since the announcement, they've been rushing. Maybe the script has been developed for a while. I hope for this, mainly because there's a cast in here that I want to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yaya's already known quite a lot, but oh man, I really hope he can, just be like an absolute superstar from this movie. But I have my worries. I do.
Is it NPH in this movie?
Yes.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Nice.
Can't wait.
I'm also
Exactly.
hoping that what we get with Yaya in there, and the fact that I guess Lawrence Fishburne said he wasn't asked to be back. I hope that that's a play, and that he's just playing with people, because anytime that a movie is either I won't say rebooted. I'll say anytime you get a sequel to a film and there's a character missing or an actor missing who's still alive and still working, always seems a little odd. And I need him in that movie.
If they are taking this in a completely different direction, different setting and everything, then you know what? I could be on board with that. But you're right. If they're just like, where's Morpheus? Oh, he's backstage getting some coffee or something. Like, I don't.
But also bringing back like all the people that they are.
Oh, that's true. You're right. They're doing that. I forgot.
You know what I mean? That, and then like the one like sub agent from the movies, like he was like the background agent.
Oh, do they have that guy coming back?
He's back.
Oh,
not
nice.
the main agent, but like
right.
The one
Because Mr. Smith. I mean, if people haven't seen it at this point, that's their problem. So spoilers ahead if you haven't. But what was I going to say? I got a little distracted. Oh yeah. Anyway, Mr. Smith, I thought kills all the other agents, and he makes them all Mr. Smiths.
You know who else kills and makes them similar to themselves is Dracula, and we are getting a new Dracula.
Oh.
Which is going to be from the director of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Andre Overdahl. And it's going to be the last voyage of the Demeter. I'm very into this. It's one chapter of 1897's Dracula. And it essentially just follows Dracula's trip aboard the ship, which is the Demeter, whatever it is, from Carpathia to London. Sean, yes or no? Oh, and also Corey Hawkins from BlacKkKlansman is Dracula.
I was going to say yes, and I still will say yes, because I love this part of the very, very, very old film Nosferatu, where he is on the ship and he's picking people off one by one, and it's the perfect amount of just scary. And I don't know if anyone's going to at me about vampire lore and is Nosferatu the same as Dracula, but I just think like something like this, where you have a crew of a ship and Dracula is making that voyage, nowhere to go. This is just prime, like just perfect horror movie fodder. Corey Hawkins sounds good. I don't actually remember him in BlacKkKlansman. And so I want to think about, who he was and who he played. I can't quite remember, but also just very psyched for young talent to come in. And so I really do love the idea of this. I love the director. I didn't like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that much, but I think that there were some moments that were great. And so just, maybe those moments happen. Hopefully someone different writing this one and it would look a little bit better, but I'm very excited for this.
Ace, how about you?
I mean, yeah, that's big enough IP for me that I'm going to see it. I mean, when it's certain, I should say that with the exception of, some Disney movies. I know we're going to talk about that later, but most things, if it's a big enough IP, I'm just going to go see it, bottom line. So Dracula, yes. And I also I just like Corey Hawkins. I think he's a good actor. I loved him in Straight Outta Compton, and I mean that's really all I have to say about that. So yeah, I'm hoping for the best, but we'll see.
Ace, I love when you wrap up your thoughts and you're like, and that's that. I got nothing more to say. Back to you. It's perfect. Well, you did bring up Disney, and we're going to jump over to Disney now and talk about live action movies, which is, the gift that keeps on giving. But Disney Plus is live action Pinocchio, which is starring Tom Hanks and will be directed by Robert Zemeckis, has brought on a veteran, so to speak, of the live action movies in Luke Evans. Luke Evans played Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. He will now be playing the role of the coachman in the upcoming film. And the coachman is the owner of Pleasure Island in the story. Ace, when I was a kid, and by a kid, I mean when I was 21, maybe, I went to Pleasure Island and Walt Disney World and got really drunk at one of their bars before they shut them all down. So that is my connection to this. I did not see Luke Evans or the coachman there. But Ace, I would like to know your thoughts on live action Pinocchio and on Luke Evans.
All right, here's the thing. First of all, Disney is a great company. There's no question about it. They are an incredible company, what they've been able to build. And I would say most of their stuff is great. I would say like 70% of it is just fire. But then there's about 30%, some number less than 70%, where it just goes, I don't know why you did that. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of their live action things. I mean, I know why they're doing it. And I think in some ways it can be a cool spin or a cool take, but I don't know. I'm kind of just over the whole Disney live action situation. Tom Hanks is awesome. But depending on how much he's in the movie or not, or at least from what I see in the trailer, I think will give me a better indication of whether I'm going to see it or sit this one out. Because I completely sat out Lion King. When I watched Mulan, I was so upset. But there have been some Disney live actions that I kind of liked. Like I liked what Favreau did with the Jungle Book, right?
Oh, that was a really good movie.
Yeah, it was solid. So, I mean, they can definitely do... I mean, what are the good live-action Disney films and what are the bad live-action Disney films?
So what's funny about that, and Sean, jump in here, I think everyone has different opinions on that, right? I'm a Disney purist, so I will see every one of them that comes out. But I'll tell you that Pinocchio is not one of my favorite stories. Cinderella was not one of my favorite stories. Mm-hmm. I am very pumped for Lilo and Stitch live-action film that
I'm down for that.
I think that's going to be incredible. I personally loved Beauty and the Beast. I thought that was really well done. And I thought that I really liked Aladdin. I know Aladdin got torn up a little bit, but I had a blast with it. Sean, what about you when it comes to this? Are you so give us your thoughts on this whole story. But then are you also someone that's like going to see every Disney movie that comes out?
I'm going to try out every Disney live action movie that comes out. I'm guaranteed to probably not enjoy it. I agree with Ace there that I think Jungle Book was a really great thing. And the reason why Jungle Book was great is that they reimagined it. They told the story somewhat differently. It was just one of these situations where it was something else. And that finally was, what I, wanted and what I needed. Other ones kind of just do an exact retelling. And some of them bring something new, but do it poorly, like Mulan. And so and that was one of the things that I admired about Mulan. I'm like, at least they're telling a slightly different story. And that was just very annoying. Or that was at least somewhat redeemable. Pardon me. In terms of Pinocchio, in terms of the Luke Evans casting, I'm worried that Disney is starting to own Luke Evans, like when we saw John Malkovich in like 12 different Netflix movies. It's interesting that he's like coming back for this. I think he can play another great villain, and this is a great villain. And I think he can play a little bit differently, not to confuse the small children that are like, "That's Gaston." But that is one of the things that I'm looking out for there. But I don't know. I just don't have too much faith in this.
Hey, speaking of Luke Evans, wasn't he Dracula in Dracula Untold? Did anybody see that?
He was. And also speaking of Luke Evans, he is single and so am I. So we can make that work if we want to. Anyway,
he's a listener of the pod.
Wait, is that real? I don't know. Is that a real thing? So
that is a real thing.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. I don't care. I'm just throwing it out there. I didn't know if it was a joke or not. I had no idea. I had no idea if we were joking or not.
We do not do bits on this podcast. We are completely
no
serious.
Joking allowed.
No joking
Absolutely
allowed.
not.
That's cool. I mean, I hope that works out for you.
Thank you.
I want to come to that party. I want to be at that wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
The wedding will be a party. But speaking of comedy, comic actor Jim Gaffigan will play Captain Hook's sidekick, Mr. Smee, in Disney's upcoming live-action Peter Pan and Wendy, which is absolutely a movie that we don't need. This is the one I'm done with them. Jude Law will play Captain Hook, though, which I really enjoy, and Yara Shahidi will play Tinkerbell. It's directed by David Lowery, who did Pete's Dragon, which was a pretty solid movie. Sean, Mr. Smee, Jim Gaffigan, does it work?
So there's two sides to this because it's perfect casting. It really is. Like I can absolutely Gaffigan is Smee. I can see it right away. My issue is Gaffigan is an amazing comedian and really, really funny. He has not proven that he can act that well. So hopefully, and this is my goal, hopefully he doesn't try in this movie. Hopefully he just is Jim Gaffigan and he's doing stand-up because that was what Smee is. He's just I ate too much breakfast. And that's like Gaffigan as well. And I think there's something there where it's like perfect casting. Gaffigan, don't try to do anything crazy here. Just go with it. And that's what I'm hoping for with this casting, at least.
You know, I haven't seen Jim Gaffigan in too many of his movie roles. But I did see him in Chappaquiddick, and I liked it. I mean, it was kind of I think the first time I saw him, and I was like, oh, I didn't know he could act. And I believe that movie where the Girl Scout movie.
Yes, Troop
I
Zero.
didn't see it, but I heard he was pretty solid in that as well. I don't know. I haven't seen it. He is funny though. I mean, the first time I saw him, I didn't even know who he was. I just saw him at the Improv once doing crowd work, and he just went off for 30 minutes. It was the best thing I've ever seen ever. So
he's a brilliant comedian. He really is. So I think he could bring
good.
some fun to this. Yeah.
Right. But is it a funny thing, or is the role in this funny, you know?
Well, you're Smee should be funny. Now, if you look at something like Hook, I mean, yeah, Hoskins is kind of playing comedy, but he's also playing it pretty serious. But
I don't even remember Mr. Smee.
Oh, he's a goofy little character. He's a goofy
there
little
he
guy.
is.
Yeah.
There he is.
Smee is kind of
that works. Okay.
He's kind of the
Yeah.
LeFou of the movie, right? Like
Yes.
LeFou from Beauty and the Beast, very similar in that sense.
Comic relief, without a doubt.
Yeah, and I'm totally in that. But hey, let's stick with the Disney train of things and jump over to their Marvel division, if you will. And Ryan Coogler's company just signed a 5+ year deal to develop television shows for Marvel. So, of course, Disney Plus is jumping into the game here, and it has been announced that the Black Panther director, who was also working on Black Panther 2 at the time, this moment in time, will develop a television series based on Wakanda. Ace.
Wakanda
Yes.
forever.
There we go. I'm with you there. I'm very excited about it.
I don't know if I had it the right way, but anyway. So yeah, Ryan Coogler, I think he's only has 5 years older than me, and he's done about 5 or 6 films, because I was reading today, and Bob Iger, the former CEO of Disney, and now I think he's the chairman, called him one of the most prolific filmmakers of our time. I was like, is that true? And I thought, yeah, the guy's, for sure talented. And he's told some important stories like Fruitvale Station, and I think especially Black Panther, but he's really only directed 3 movies. He's got Fruitvale Station, Creed, and Black Panther. Then he's got some shorts. All of those are good. So yeah, good for him. The guy, I think, is 33 and just signed a mega deal probably with Disney. I don't know how much it was worth. I don't think they disclosed that, but good for him. I just worry that with all the stuff that Disney Plus is about to put out with the Marvel verse, is it enough that people can keep up? And I just hope they take into consideration the fact that not everybody is going to watch every single Marvel TV show, because at that point, TV is difficult to keep up with. Films, everybody can keep up with the Marvel film verse because we know when they're coming out in their big mega events. I hope they take that into consideration, but good for Ryan Coogler, for real.
Sean, are you going to have
That's
any
me in 5 years.
Are you going to have any trouble keeping up?
Well, that is an interesting point, because I've worried about that as well with all of the crazy Marvel shows they're having. Will they keep up? And right now, it's not that difficult to keep up with WandaVision. There will be more coming out. there will sometimes be more than one a week. But I think that because they're coming once a week, because, you know, they're going to be staggered at different times, I think there's ways to do it. I think you're right. Some people aren't going to keep up, but I think the people that matter are going to keep up. And that might be an interesting business decision. Would it be something we want to have? And I think that like they will design it so that, you know, my fiance,
it'll still make sense to me if I don't see them, you think?
The one thing I want to argue is I truly don't know because I've seen everything, but my fiance went to see Avengers Infinity War, and she saw a Marvel movie here and a Marvel movie there, but didn't really didn't have all of them, completely wrapped up, and she loved it. And that's 3 hours, and she had a blast. Granted, I had to, when the hammer was starting to raise while, Thor was being there, it's like, so the only person that can ever reach the hammer is actually Thor. And then it's weird that that's going up right now, right? Is it weird that's going up there? And then Captain America grabs it. And so, but there were, little things that I quickly, whispered to her. But honestly, I think that it can happen. Now, it's something that I've worried about as well. And it's interesting, your point on Coogler, too, because you're right. He's done very few films and he's become huge, but he's done some movies that are really difficult to navigate, and he's made these movies. Fruitvale Station is a great work of art, and that was something that he that you could independently make. There wasn't a lot of pressure there. Then you got Creed and Black Panther. Two movies that should have sucked, and they didn't. And it was and not only did they not suck, but they're pretty amazing, and they've sort of reinvigorated the franchises. Marvel was going to.
Creed should have sucked, but why do you say that? And it didn't, by the way. But why do you say that you think that Black Panther should have sucked?
I think I'm probably being a little bit too pejorative, but I think that one of the things is that I worry that it was they had to jump through a lot of hoops to make that work, and they jumped through all of them very well. I mean, you have to navigate, certain politics. You have to navigate culture. You have to navigate some sort of crazy, basically sci-fi movie on a tremendously large scale and make it all into a popcorn entertainment type of film that actually had comedy as well. Like the way Coogler filmed that as a director, I couldn't believe that he pulled that off. Like it really is something to behold, like that Black Panther worked that way.
And the other thing with that too, Sean, I think what made that successful and what makes all of his films successful are the authentic voice that he gives to it. And it's, I think back to not comparing here, but in a similar vein, Captain Marvel was the first female superhero in Marvel to get their own movie, and they brought on two men to direct it. And you're not giving it and that's not getting into the story of, or the debate of who men can't direct women or whatever, but it's about that authenticity. When you haven't played in that playground, you want to start with an authentic foundation. And I think that's what Ryan Coogler does really well. He also has produced Judas and the Black Messiah coming up. He's producing Space Jam, A New Legacy. And he's also, what's the other one that I just forgot about, but he produced Creed 2, right? So he continues to he's involved in films, and I just love his stuff.
This is what's great about him is that, and now he's getting even more of it, but Coogler's getting money.
Yeah.
And that means
Coogler's getting paid.
And he's going to make a lot more stuff. He's going to, as you said, produce a lot of stuff. We all talked about Barry Jenkins doing the live-action Lion King prequel, and we probably all rolled our eyes, but Barry Jenkins is going to get money now. And that means that he is going to have control over a lot of different things. He's going to be able to produce a lot of stuff, and there will be some great, I don't like this word, but a great content out there. And that's what it comes down to.
We have to create more content.
We need more to watch.
We need more.
Hey, you know what? I'm not against that. I'm totally not against that. And that's what studios and all that really believe we want to see is more content. And when they release a film that is part of a franchise, they want to be able to release more sequels. And that's what's happening with the Tomb Raider sequel, who just landed Lovecraft Country's writer, Misha Green. Ben Wheatley of Rebecca fame was originally signed up to direct this. I know you're very upset, Sean.
He's fine. He's lovely.
But this is the video game adaptation that is a follow-up to 2018's film starring Alicia Vikander, which I actually enjoyed. The sequel was originally supposed to come out March of 2021, but hashtag pandemic. So it will be coming out in the future. Sean, you are not a huge video game movie person. We've talked about this in the past, but did you see Tomb Raider? Did you enjoy it? Did you see Lovecraft Country? Are you excited about the addition of the writer as a director?
Quick diversion. You just said hashtag pandemic. Does the pandemic need a hashtag? Or I think it's got its okay. I'm going
to. Does anything need a hashtag?
Hashtag pandemic has been fixed.
Yeah,
pandemic is over.
Yeah, it's over now. We're good.
Yeah.
So I will comment on something that I don't know anything about because I'm great at that. I've never seen a Tomb Raider movie, not out of protest, not out of avoidance, just simply it doesn't show up right immediately at Netflix, and so I don't immediately click on it. So I just have not seen any Tomb Raider movies. However, I do know Lovecraft Country and I do know Misha Green, and I think that this is an amazing choice. And the real great choice about this is, once again, don't know anything about Tomb Raider, but this is like Misha Green can ground fantasy into a reality and be able to have you hold that suspense for a very long time. And I believe Tomb Raider goes into some fantasy once in a while, probably. And even if not, there's some fanciful things that occur.
What was this?
That was my I did my fanciful shoulder shuffle.
That was the excitement dance. Yeah.
There it is right there.
Yeah.
But I truly think like this is absolutely great. And then I'm going to say it again. We said it already, but I'm going to say it now again. Misha Green's going to get money. And then Misha Green's going to make, more things like Lovecraft Country, because there's people with differing opinions about Lovecraft Country, but everyone at least loved one of the episodes, maybe even more, because there was something different in each one. And it was just really something that kind of knocked me for a loop. So I'm excited to see her do more things. And maybe this means I have to watch the rest of the Tomb Raiders. And so to watch Tomb Raider 2.
Well, there's only one. So
I meant the Angelinas, but
I would watch them because they're fun 90s popcorn flicks,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, even though they may have come out in the 2000s. But anyway, Ace, what is your relationship with Tomb Raider? I heard you guys are.
I like Tomb Raider. Angelina Jolie beating ass in tights, I'm down. I mean, back in the day, that's what it is. If we're gonna be real, that's what it is, and it's awesome. I really wanted to see the newer one. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't have much to add. And I'm really not too familiar with Misha Green, except for that I know she wrote some episodes of Sons of Anarchy before I stopped watching it, and she wrote an episode of Spartacus. That's good enough for me. I'm sure I'll get to watching the Tomb Raider remake and then the sequel sometime in the future, probably before it comes out, whenever that is. I don't care. That's good enough for me. I don't. Whatever. Yeah.
But let's talk about sequels a little bit more, and I'm going to stick with you here, Ace. Cloverfield was 2008's found footage film that a lot of people really enjoyed. I loved it. At the time, it was kind of one of the first major found footage films.
Right.
And then, of course, that's been beaten into the ground since. But Joe Barton, who is the previous, I believe, who's a showrunner or director of Gotham, is developing a direct sequel. That's the key here. It's a direct sequel to Cloverfield, not like a random ass movie that we're like, let's tie in. It's going to be a direct sequel, and it will not feature the found footage trope.
Yeah. So I'm actually excited about that because the first time I saw Cloverfield, I enjoyed it. I love those sorts of premises and scenarios, but the found footage thing did make me dizzy and kind of a more like action, or a film that included action sequences, I should say. So I'm excited they're getting away from that, because I thought that Cloverfield, what was it called, 22, or where they're under the ground.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
10 Cloverfield Lane. I like what they've done with the universe, but I heard the other one that I think went out to Netflix was really bad. But yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, yes, I'm excited to see what they do with this, because I just like those scenarios, and I hope that it doesn't fail.
I'm with you there. Sean, Cloverfield, yay or nay?
Cloverfield, first of all, yes, yay, absolutely. And when you texted me this news, I thought I literally told you, I was like, nope, it's another dumb movie that is just given the Cloverfield tag. And he's like, no, the producers are behind it. Like, no, another dumb movie. I really didn't trust it for a while, because I'm very upset about the last two, because I think 10 Cloverfield Lane was actually a really good movie that was spoiled by the Cloverfield title. Because the whole time you're thinking, is there actually some sort of invasion or something like that? But with the Cloverfield title, you knew there was the whole time. And so it just bothered me a little bit. Then Cloverfield Paradox ruined Cloverfield in the other way, because it It was really.
I heard it was horrible.
It was really tough to watch. I felt so terrible. But this is going to be something that actually talks about this, and I agree. Ditch the found footage. It was cool in 2008. It is definitely not even close to cool now. So let's actually have something where there have been people since 2008 digging through different scenes, screenshots of it, trying to find different things. Oh, the alien was dropped from a tube at that very last scene, and we just saw it right there. And there is all these various aspects of it. Give them answers. And so have this be something where, it's a direct sequel, which is going to be interesting considering, rocks and covered in them. But I am curious to see where it's going to go, and if they're going to open up the actual universe, not the Paradox universe or the Lane universe, the actual universe. And that's what I'm hoping for with this.
Totally agree with that. I am very excited for it because kind of like Ace said, these are my types of movies. I just enjoy monster craziness, especially modern monster craziness. I think there's a lot that could be done with that. And I'm not talking about politics. But let's shift gears a little bit and go the animated route. The Daily Show host and comedian Trevor Noah is teaming up with Paramount Animation to develop an original animated film based on an original, timely, poignant, and comedic idea from Trevor Noah. We don't know much about it, but the writers are Jonathan Groff from Blackish and John Pollock from Modern Family. Sean, yay or nay?
Hey, I'm skeptical of this just because I don't know what else Trevor Noah can do. Let me rephrase that. What he does is awesome. And he managed to take over Jon Stewart. Do I miss Jon Stewart on The Daily Show? Absolutely. But Trevor Stewart, there we go. Trevor Noah has brought something else to it that is kind of amazing. But so far, I've only seen him talk to a screen in a chair. I'm excited to see him do something else, and I'm like, the word Trevor Noah does an animated. Okay, I'm in. But what exactly is it going to be? Where is it going? The writers sound promising. Two writers with some prolific experience and on some great cable shows, which great cable shows is a weird thing to say sometimes. But all of that is, what I'm sort of looking forward to.
Ace?
Doesn't do anything for me, really. I mean, kind of the same as what Sean was saying. Why? Yes, I understand that Trevor Noah is a funny person and does his thing on The Daily Show, but remind me again why you're getting your own television series and what are you going to do about that? Why are you qualified for this again? And my hope is that it's a big success, but when I see this type of thing, I'll believe it when I see it. And hopefully I do. So I'll just leave it there.
I definitely think this reeks is a negative, has a negative connotation, but I think that it definitely is about a studio trying to do something different and trying to strike gold with, a television comedian, a personality like Trevor Noah, who is pretty timely, right? So
right.
I'm open to it. We don't know much about it
right.
other than it's happening. But what also is finally happening, so they say, and as Rachel Reviews said on Instagram earlier, believe it when I see it, the Wicked musical is finally has a new director, John Chu, after previous directors had to drop out. They first started talking about the movie back in 2012, I believe. Universal had announced that it was going to come out in 2019, then it got pushed to 2021. I think at some point it was 2020. I don't know. But now it is in development. And Wicked, of course, is one of the most popular musicals on Broadway. So, Ace, have you seen Wicked?
Yeah, actually, yes, I have. When I went to Europe, I went to London's Broadway. I think it's called something else. It might actually just be called Broadway, but they have their own version of it that's just as big of a deal as New York. And I saw the play. I loved it. The soundtrack is obviously fire. I was so tired, so I was kind of fading in and out of consciousness, not because it was bad, it's just because I was so tired from traveling across Europe. So I was kind of coming in and out of it. And I'm excited that they're going to give it a real they're just going to make it a movie, right? They're not trying to do what they did with Hamilton, correct? It's an actual film adaptation, right?
But let's be real here. Hamilton's going to get its film adaptation down the road.
Oh, God, yes.
I'd much rather see a film adaptation of Hamilton than what I saw of Hamilton, because I feel like a lot of the whole experience of Broadway is to be there. It doesn't do as much to watch it on screen. And the fact that anything can come through on screen where it's not meant to be on screen, I think speaks volumes about the IP, but it's never going to be what it is live. And I think the same goes for things like stand-up. So if you're going to make it a film adaptation, just make a film adaptation. So I will definitely be seeing Wicked whenever that comes out, and probably singing along too.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Sean, can you give us a little taste of the Wicked soundtrack?
I know Defying Gravity, but
title.
Yes, just the title of the song. So that's all you're gonna get.
You can't just give us one. I want to be popular. You can't
Well,
just give us one.
I almost injected when you said like, oh, Joe said it's a musical. It's very popular. I was like, popular. La, 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 la.
So I take it you've seen it.
I see the faces. You asked for it.
Well,
We did.
I hope you know that's the clip that's going on Instagram.
Yeah, but you
I
didn't
do
really
exactly.
commit though.
When I started to, I didn't really. You're trying to get me to do it again, and that's not
You
going to
didn't
work.
do a full commit. Full send.
I can't do that. I have to pee.
Okay.
I I have never seen the musical Wicked, but I love the soundtrack to Wicked. And as you can see right there. And so I'm absolutely on board for this. I love the idea of this being translated into a movie, because from what I understand, you could translate this to a movie and it won't feel like a stage play. Like a lot of them can, but this one has a lot to it where, you can definitely get some different settings in there. You can make this feel like something that is just straight up a movie. We get that problem all the time, and we talk about that problem all the time, where there are just too many times where, it just felt like a play, or even like, even when it's a musical, it felt like a play. And I think Wicked maybe can, sort of avoid that. I will say the best moment though, or the best news here is John Chu, baby. John Chu. So this must mean one thing about a movie coming out, soon. Does it mean that it's good? In the Heights?
Has to be.
It's got to be good.
It's
got to be good.
Back for another musical, especially Wicked.
2021 Best Picture, In the Heights. Let's go. I'm in.
Okay. I'm totally with you there. I think the other thing that is kind of fascinating about this, two things. One is fascinating about something you said. This is one of those musicals that I don't know that it really repeats sets. I'm thinking back to there's a few obviously that every movie or every film will do, but it definitely, there's a ton of different sets. So in terms of settings of the movie, I think it's going to be very theatrical and feel like a movie. The other piece is, I guess, the question of who's going to star in it. And I was talking to a friend about this today. And of course, I don't think Idina and Kristen Chenoweth are going to be back for it, because they've kind of aged out of that role, or those roles, because they're younger roles in the story. But I do wonder, I'm trying to think of people that are present today in sort of musical theater, but also in musical Hollywood. And I wonder if, I'm going to forget her name, but the main lead from The Prom, I could totally see her involved somehow.
I'd love her to be in this. Yeah.
She was so good. But yeah, they're my thoughts. I'm excited. I am excited. One other person that's probably excited is the director of Coda, as well as the filmmakers behind it, because Apple just set a Sundance Film Festival record by acquiring Coda for about $25 million. So that tops last year's record of $22.5 million, which was set by Hulu for Palm Springs, which was a solid film. The film is titled after the acronym for Child of Deaf Adults, and it follows a high school senior who's the only family member who can hear, seeking to follow her own dreams while keeping her family held together. It stars Emilia Jones. This was a film that I was not able to see at Sundance. Sean, I don't think you saw it either.
I wasn't able to, no.
But what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I love that, already we're getting the Sundance pickups, and I think it's going to be just like a great, this is going to be like some great news coming up about all the different Sundance pickups. I don't know much about the film. It sounds great. And also this is just a weird thing to have. Like, I love the title. Like it's easy and it's to the point and it's what the theme of the movie, but just like Coda, like I thought it was about like, some Irish orphan or something. I just got so excited when I saw I was just like, Coda, what is this all about? And so I don't know why that was what got me, but if you have a good title, that'll bring it in.
I thought it was something futuristic. I don't know about you, Ace, when I first read the title.
I had no clue what in the world is this. And I was surprised to see it was a story kind of this nature, about, I don't know what the appropriate vernacular is. Are we going to call it? I don't want to say the wrong thing and get canceled, but let me just say this. Let me say, I think it's going to be a touching story. I expected this to be some type of action situation or bigger budgeted thing. So yeah, I mean, cool for those people who made it. I mean, they get paid, man. 25 million. Good for you guys and girls, whoever was involved.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a big acquisition for Apple. I think it goes towards Apple's seemingly
they're not playing, dude.
They're not. They lean towards, I think, acquiring quality.
They do.
And I really like that. I think we talked about this before.
Yeah, they're focused on quality. Netflix is focused on pumping out quantity, and they do have some quality things too. And then Amazon is kind of focused, I feel like, on just having a library of things that people will watch. And their rental business, I bet, is huge.
Yeah, and watching or looking over real quick and seeing the reviews of Coda on Rotten Tomatoes, just pulling out one of the critics that I follow a lot. It's a crowd pleaser, to be sure, and a little on the corny side, but it's so unwavering in its sincerity that it manages to hit all the right notes. And that's something that the critics' consensus says. Its story offers few surprises, but Emilia Jones' brilliant lead performance brings this coming of age story vividly to life. So that's I'm excited for it. I love a great performance. Just watched The World to Come earlier with Catherine Waterston and Vanessa Kirby. It's slow in spots. It's a period drama, right? Slow in spots, but the performances are just phenomenal. And that just is, I don't know. When you finish a movie and you're like, damn, that was good. It's a good feeling. All right, here's our last big story before we get into a little debate that I told you guys I wanted to have today, because I've been pondering this. But first and foremost, internet nerds and Redditors and gamers and everyone band together last week to take on Wall Street. And if you don't know about that, we're not going to get into it here, but I will reference the Chumpcast. They put out a short video that it's two of them talking about what it really means. It took me 4 or 5 articles to read it and totally get it. But anyway, what's going on now is that after the GameStop stock went up, skyrocketed, really, it is all turning into a feature film. New York Times bestselling author Ben Mesrick, who wrote the book that 2010's The Social Network was based on, one of my favorite movies, has already proposed a book about last week's Reddit versus Wall Street via GameStop story titled The Anti-Social Network. Hopefully that title doesn't stick because I don't like it.
Yeah, no.
The book will follow the wild story of Reddit users who banded together to inflate the stock price of GameStop, sending Wall Street into a tizzy, if you will. MGM has secured the rights. Apparently, there was a serious bidding war. But hey, let's not stop there, because Netflix came out the next day and said, we're tapping our we're going to our go-to. Oh, God, tapping our go-to man. Ruined the joke. Noah Centineo from To All the Boys I've Loved Before, also starring in Black Adam whenever that movie comes out. He will star in a film about the GameStop thing as well, written by Mark Bull of The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. So yeah, this is going to be the new thing. We're getting a lot of them. Ace, did you invest in GameStop?
No, but I was pissed because I wanted to. Remember, I wanted to talk about AMC last time, and you guys didn't want. Nobody wanted to talk about it, and then look what happened. AMC stock blew up, but it's already back to kind of where it was. No, I did not jump in on GME because it's already dipped. Like every day I look at the AMC and GME thing and they dip 25, 50% from the time they peak. So I'm pretty sure it's over, the GME thing. And I think AMC will eventually come back as people start to go back to the theaters, but they peaked at the $20 thing. I don't see that happening.
But I will also tell you that AMC, when we last talked, was at about 222 or something, like right around, like fluctuating. And it's currently at this moment fluctuating between 754 and 755. So
I think it's going to drop. When it gets to 5, I'm going to buy it.
There you go.
When it gets to 5, I'm going to buy it. I said it here, and then I think things will start coming back, and I hope one day it'll get close to 30 someday, I think. But yeah, as far as a movie goes for this, I predict heavy usage of a narrator. I predict that this movie is going to be difficult to do because I'm not sure exactly how you tell the story, like who is the main character, who's in charge. I would like to see perspective from the hedge fund people, going crazy. Like, oh my God, is this actually happening? I'd like to see that part of the story. And then as a side note, Noah Centineo, I was the production assistant on a social media shoot of his relatively recently. And I haven't seen too much of his work, but I will say extremely nice guy, like super chill, down to earth, was hanging out with the guys on set. I'm not friends with him or anything, but I will say he's a nice guy. And things like that go a long way when you see like a young guy who's just getting started and they have, a ton of fame, especially when, they're kind of like the girl crazy type, I think that can go to your head, but he seemed like a totally down to earth, cool dude to me. So just throwing that out there. I hope it's good. I wish him the best.
I'm very excited about the book that the MGM one is going to be based off of, only because The Social Network is honestly one of the best movies. I say bring back Sorkin to write the script and Fincher to direct. Sean? Yeah?
It feels tricky. Obviously I want Sorkin and Fincher to direct and write everything. But this does feel tricky. Like you said, who is going to be the main character? Will it be from the perspective of the hedge funds? Much like something like Margin Call was, which worked very well. Or could it be from the perspective of, the little guys, much like The Big Short was? Either way, it's easier if you don't include as many details as possible. And I don't think that will happen here. I think that, the movie will literally be titled like GameStop, watch this, please. And I just think that instead of that, it should be, something that, I'm not saying change the name, but you have to walk on eggshells with this because people are going to roll their eyes at a GameStop movie. Everyone's already sick of this whole controversy, honestly, even though more and more is coming out about it. It's the same problem with, honestly, Joe Exotic and Tiger King, where there's like 16 different movies being made. Also, the other part of this is that, I think there are technically, I read 3 projects, but I couldn't find the third, but there's 3 projects about GameStop in development. 2 of those are going to die out. Somehow, like they're just going to sort of flame out. I don't know which 2. I don't know how. There's going to be some sort of development hell that just holds them back. If not, you have 3 that compete against each other. Maybe one's good, probably not 2 of them. And, we're left with, some interesting things to watch, some interesting perspectives. One thing they really shouldn't do is try to explain it. I think I get what happened, but don't try to explain it. Margin Call, first of all, I've said it twice already, but Margin Call, I love that movie so much. And you want to know why? Is because like they all just say, "Oh, I don't understand what this is all about." Just and then they do kind of simplify it in the lowest of in the easiest of ways for someone like me. And so I just get that it's like, all right, bad guy getting rich screws over. Like it was perfect. And so that's something that I think GameStop's gonna be like, we have to teach everybody about this in these movies. And it'll get, Big Short, I do love, don't get me wrong. I do love Big Short, but they did try to do a little bit too much with explaining.
It was confusing, man.
I got some of it, but I like just a little bit. Like, so that's all I needed.
I had to see it a few times actually to understand.
Exactly.
I want Christopher Nolan to direct this because if there's anyone that's going to explain something well, it's going to be him.
He's good with that.
I can perfectly explain Tenet.
Yeah, no,
we'll need another podcast for that.
Yeah,
we need just one person in the beginning of GameStop just to be like, try not to understand it, just feel it, and I'll be like, okay, cool,
good enough.
It took him how many movies to throw that line into it? All right, so here's a question that I have for you guys, and we kind of alluded to this a little bit when we were talking about movies that we watched. I believe all 3 of us watched The Little Things. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So not a good movie in my opinion. And I want to talk about performances a little bit, but mainly Jared Leto's performance. And this is going to get to the larger question here of, is Jared Leto actually a good actor? And I have some thoughts on that, but I would love to hear yours after I state the fact that I just looked up his IMDb a little bit ago and totally forgot that he's going to be starring as Gucci. Totally forgot that.
Wait, Gucci, like the Gucci guy?
In the Gucci movie, he's going to be Paolo Gucci.
Paolo Gucci. Good for him.
So that ruins that movie for me, to be quite honest. But here's my thoughts real quick. Dallas Buyers Club is an interesting movie to me because it's straight washed and whitewashed in a lot of ways, telling a story that I think is pretty challenging to tell. I think they told it well, but when you have a straight male actor playing a trans actor like that, I think it can be, or a trans character, I think it can be challenging. He did win the Oscar for it, and he, well deserved. I think it was a good movie. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I could get into the Oscars thing there because that's the award that, the Oscars just love. It's just like they love that a straight male is playing a trans character and is dying of AIDS, and that's something. And I don't want to diminish it. I think that I'm going to get into what I feel about Jared Leto in a little bit. I don't think this was a good performance, but I'll get into how I feel about him. But I just think that's the typical one where the Oscars just they vote for something, and I might be a little bit cynical here, and this is just a theory, by the way. But it's just one of those things where it's we're not homophobic, we're voted it's just one of those things where a lot of actors in that guild will think that.
Well, once again, also,
yeah, go.
It's also old people that make up mostly the Actors Guild. You know what I mean? Not the Actors Guild, so to say, but the large block of voters in the for the Oscars are going to be, and look at the Academy itself. Look at the Foreign Press, the Hollywood Foreign Press. All of that is on the older spectrum of things. So when it comes to sort of the authentic way of telling these stories, it's not necessarily always on the front of their radar. But other films that he's been in that I think were kind of interesting. He, of course, was in Suicide Squad as the Joker. He's reprising that role in Zack Snyder's Justice League in some way. Lord of War, Panic Room, which I completely forgot he was in. Completely forgot. Girl Interrupted, Fight Club, which I forgot.
What is he in Fight Club? Panic Room. I don't even remember.
Blonde guy.
Angel Face was his name.
Angel Face, yeah.
He is? Yeah. I didn't even recognize him. Yeah. Okay.
So, and that's another thing about him is he's kind of one of those characters that likes to transform himself for each role. I thought about it a lot after The Little Things because I think his kookiness in The Little Things was mismanaged and was not delivered well, to where it was just very, very boring for me. So, Sean, what are your thoughts on this?
I think one of the big problems with recent Leto, because I'm going to call him recent Leto at this point, and recently he kind of has become the Johnny Depp type of situation, where Johnny Depp was a young actor, up and coming, great talent, and then all of a sudden he just puts on costumes, and then he puts on goofy makeup, and he does goofy voices with everything. Some of those could be good performances, by the way. I'm not even knocking every single time that someone does that, but it got to the point where in Little Things, where he has this inflection with his voice that is kind of great. He's like, we could meet up later and get tacos. And I'm saying an offensive accent almost because he doesn't even do that though. I can't even imitate what he did. It was kind of brilliant. But then the fact that he's just so off, he makes too many choices that were annoying and disagreeable, and then became obvious that I'm not going to spoil, but it was to the point where I just didn't believe it at all. And so that's just what started to bother me. If we look at a young Leto, you named some of them, Requiem for a Dream. I mean, he is the center of that movie, and you need to have someone that's good in the center of that movie. I mean, you look at Girl Interrupted. I think he's only in a few scenes, but he kind of makes it count. One that I have, because I'm a runner, he plays Steve Prefontaine in Prefontaine. These are all these authentic movies where he doesn't mail his co-stars dead rats. And that's what he became eventually, where he became more about, and this is something that, and this is also, by the way, a narrative with Oscars where it's the behind the scenes, he gained 7,000 pounds for this role. He got himself addicted to heroin and then had to come off of it. I'm not saying these are things Leto did, but there's just that. And then that became the narrative, and he became that behind the scenes actor. And that's where, sometimes, hey, when you're preparing for a role, that's great. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis does it all the time, and we're not bothered by him doing it. But it seems that he overshoots that preparation with no payoff. I mean, he plays Mark David Chapman in Chapter 27, which is just not a good movie anyway. But it's just, he's going way too far with his roles. I mean, and It's unfortunate because when he was normal, he made good performances. That's why the Johnny Depp comparison seems very sound. And I don't say normal. I say normal is normal on screen, is what I'm sort of meaning. But it's just one of those things where imagine if this role got played down a little bit in The Little Things. I would have had a lot more fun. Because otherwise he's just this obvious character who did it. And then, then he's all of a sudden obviously lying. And it's something where he was obvious from both sides, which is, I guess, tough to do. But that is my prime issue with Jared Leto. I hope he can come back down to earth eventually. But
I do love the comparison to Johnny Depp. I think that's great. Big Ace. Yourself.
Yeah, I thought of a Johnny Depp kind of thing earlier too, but here's my take. All right, so when I look at actor, actress, and whether they're good or not, I define it on two levels. First and foremost, do I believe you? One. And then two, what is the range of performances that you can do where I believe you? For example, The Rock can do one thing and he can do one thing really well, and I believe him. So in that sense, he's a good action actor. But am I going to call him a great actor across the spectrum? Not yet. But then when I look at somebody like Jared Leto, and I'm like, do I believe him? Yeah, I do. And when I looked at him in the Pretty Little Thing, or not Pretty Little Things, in The Little Things, and The Little Things, he was creepy, man. He was creepy, and I think that was the point, and I believed it. Sean, I like what you were talking about, the voice inflection. I thought it was cool. It was a type of voice inflection that I haven't seen before, can I remember. So I think it was great that he came up with that for himself. And then, but you're right. He does tend to pick these kind of weird little creepy roles, kind of like in Blade Runner 2049. He's kind of the creepy, a super creepy version of Zuckerberg and Bezos if they had a son that was raised by Elon Musk's robot or something like that. and Lord of War, I believed him as a drug addict, and I liked him in Dallas Buyers Club. So yeah, the bottom line is I do think that Jared Leto is a good actor, but he's also a character actor. He's not really and what are we thinking of that he's the leading man, or is he in anything where he is the leading man?
Some of his younger stuff, like Requiem for a Dream or Prefontaine, and there's a few others there, but recently, nothing. Yeah, recently.
Right. But recently, so maybe he's just better as a character actor, because I've actually never seen Requiem for a Dream. I would like to. I gotta see it. And
I mean, in Gucci,
in Gucci, that'll be. I mean, I don't really know anything about the Gucci story, so I can't really speak to it. And the Joker, his Joker character, I don't know. The Joker character, I was kind of just upset because nobody could do it as well as Heath Ledger's Joker was just unreal. How do you beat that? And yeah, it's cool that Jared Leto could bring something different to it. Ultimately, the bottom line, yes, I think he's a good actor.
Okay, I'll take that. I think the point that you just made about has he been a leading man in anything, and going back to recent Leto in Sean's terms, with Gucci coming up and he's reteaming with Darren Aronofsky in Adrift in a movie coming out, which I think Apple's trying to get, if I remember correctly. And then he's rumored to be the lead in Tron 3, which is going to be interesting, like a Disney-esque whatever, which even goes, I think, further to the comparison to Johnny Depp. So I don't know. I want to see more from him. I want to see more from him where he's less. Does that make sense? Because he always tries to
just turn it on. Right. You're saying he's like Johnny Depp over the top.
Yeah.
And you'd like to see him just turn it down just a notch.
And I don't think he's good. I think Johnny Depp, for as much as he played the same role in all of the Pirates movies, and didn't really give anything new to any of them, he's funny and he does it well. I don't know that Jared Leto does this all well. One interesting movie that I think will kind of tell whether or not he can carry one is Morbius, because that has Marvel ties. It's a Marvel, but it has Marvel ties, and he's the lead. So.
And he'll be a creepy guy like The Little Things. Okay, spoilers. Let's just talk about the movie for a second. My understanding, it was a slow burn. I get it. And I was actually fine with the movie. It was a very, very slow burn to get to a lot at the end. And I did like the last 20, 30 minutes of the film, but that was a lot to.
Well, 15 of those minutes they were driving around the mountains.
I liked it. I was fine with that. But it was a lot to just get to that point. And my understanding was it's kind of unclear. Spoilers. It's unclear if he did it or not. That was my right. That's how it's supposed to be interpreted. And then Denzel just gives him the peace of mind at the end. He gives the peace of mind to Rami Malek's character, just so he can sleep at night and do his job well going forward, and not to end up like Denzel's character. Correct. That was my interpretation.
Yes.
Right.
It was one of those things where they wanted to care more about the characters than the mystery, and that problem is you have to give me something with the characters in the first like hour and a half, because I understood where each character was. I understood where their lineup was. I got that, but I couldn't feel anything from them. And I don't think they really paid close attention to that. And, hey, if you're not going to have good characters, that's cool. But then have a dynamite mystery that, turns me to the side.
Yeah. I Denzel's always good, but I get what you're saying. Are you just saying that character has been done a million times before, like cop on the force who's kind of washed up, but he's getting his second shot with a young rookie kind of thing?
I don't even mind overdone characters. If I see a character in something that's interesting, but I really didn't feel anything there. And one of the problems was, and you're right, Denzel's really not bad in anything, and he's not even bad in this, but it just felt like he was being held back by the movie. Like he was acting the way the movie wanted him to, which was poor for the character. I don't know if I'm saying it in the right words or just what I felt. But
what would you have rather seen? What would you have added to Denzel's character to make him better?
Here's the moment: is the moment when Denzel shows up in the light, and we see what Rami did with his shovel, and I just sort of said at that point where that's the moment that Denzel turned on. That was the moment.
That's a good point.
The problem with that was that, I always want to see that Denzel. I think that the other issue was, there's the big Denzel twist that, he I guess a twist, but, he accidentally shot a girl, and that's what he was kind of reckoning with and dealing with. And that was done at the same moment the shovel was happening. Now, here's the thing. I don't know how to correct that. But at that point, I don't know what Denzel's weight is at that point. Right now, I'm thinking Denzel's weight is unsolved mystery, unsolved mystery, unsolved mystery. And I'm like, this guy, I understand that's the thing with detectives is they have the unsolved mystery and they have that quite going. But it just felt like it was at that moment where I found it out. And I was kind of like, well, I wish I knew that sooner. I would have held more for his character. I would have seen his pain, felt that a little bit. I know they were trying to go for a shock value, which is cool. That's it's Hollywood, baby. But I just think that that was one of the several issues I had with it. And I wanted to like this movie.
Please share what you texted me about Rami Malek and Denzel Washington.
Rami Malek. Oh boy, I don't know if I remember it, but
it was something along the lines Rami Malek trying to sleep with Denzel or something.
I thought that too for a minute. I thought that too. That thought did cross my mind. My biggest issue with the movie, it was a slow burn. Yes, very slow burn. One of the biggest things that bothered me though was when Rami Malek gets in the car with Jared Leto to go out to he's going to take him to the body. I'm like, really? This is what we're doing? We're going to rely on this stupid, right?
It's just stupid,
right? It was kind of silly. Because the whole time you're thinking, is Jared Leto going to kill him? When's Jared Leto going to make his move? And it never happens. But yeah, I get your point. Who would it go with that? Come on, you're supposed to be a detective, hotshot detective. You're not going to go with that. You're not going to go with that.
It's really just, and I actually want to go to one point that I really loved about it. But one of the issues I had is, Jared Leto's character is just so obviously not the guy, because he's just this true crime fan. That's just he just likes to screw with the cops and everything like that. And, maybe he is the guy, and they leave it up to, interpretation. But it was just bothering me so much that not from a red herring standpoint was he definitely not the guy, but also from an investigative point. He confessed to a murder, and then he the next day he said he was lying, and there was just something to it where it's just it's kind of obvious that this dude's not. And I was just like, Rami, you're the smart one, man. Come on. I will say there was one moment that I adored in this movie, and I'm being genuine here. It's Denzel and Rami in the car. and Rami just kind of loses it because he's just so ticked off that he can't nail it. And Denzel's just like, you gotta calm down. You gotta lose. And it was like the one moment where it was just like, okay, that was the one tender moment between those two characters where it's like, okay, yeah, like there's actually humanity here where, you know, he's just saying, don't become me. And then he does that again with the beret. But
was that before or after Denzel and Jared Leto were driving in circles or on exits and off of exits?
That's after.
That's after. Okay, because that's before driving around the desert mountains.
Yes, before desert mountains, after the exits. Yes.
How's the trunk space?
How's the trunk space? Okay, Leto's kind of cool in this. I think
it was definitely a January release. I saw someone mention that before, and they're like, here's why. I'm like, that makes sense. All right. We have made it to the end of our outline. I want to talk about movies that are coming out this week real quick. Bliss is coming out Friday on Amazon Prime Video, as we discussed earlier. Falling, theaters and VOD. Little Fish. This is a movie. Sean, I told you about this. This is, oh my God, Jack O'Connell, one of my all-time favorite actors, all-time, and he's like 25. But it is a solid movie that I saw at the Philadelphia Film Festival. It is with Olivia Cooke as well. It is basically about like a disease where people start losing their memories. But it's just very well done. It's so well done. I loved it. And I realized I never posted my review for it, so that will be coming this week. But it's a very good movie. I think VOD today probably, considering it's Tuesday that we're recording this, Wednesday if you're listening. And then Malcolm and Marie comes out Friday on Netflix with Zendaya. Sorry, I always get corrected. Zendaya and John David Washington.
I'm so sorry. It's Zendaya. It's Zendaya.
I thought it was
Zendaya.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Zendaya.
Oh no!
How do you say Zendaya?
Well, while you talk about that, I'm going to just say that this is probably one of the big Oscar pushes. This and Judas and the Black Messiah are the last two like big like Oscar moments for this year, or this 14 months.
It is Zendaya.
Oh, damn!
I always get her confused. There's a lineage of place kickers from the University of Arizona named Zendaya.
Yes.
And when I was there was one that infamously, he's D1 athlete. I don't want to rip on him, but he infamously kind of blew a couple. I hope he's doing well. So I always want to say Zendaya, but it's what are we saying? It's Zendaya. Right.
Yeah. She was not happy with how her career was going as a kicker, so she jumped in the acting.
Yeah, so she
dropped the H and she jumped with the
Ace, where can people find you?
Movie reviews with Big Ace on the Gram and the TikTok. Movie reviews with Big Ace
on the top. Yeah, your TikToks are pretty funny, especially when you're covering the.
It's all right, bro. I gave up The Bachelor. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it. I didn't watch it last night. I can't, and it was like making me sick. I can't. Like, it was feeling like a chore. I want to do these when I feel like it, when I want to. And like, you guys are a lot more disciplined with this than I am, because when I try to force a movie review or any review, it's not good. And when I force myself to sit through 2 hours of The Bachelor and then do a review, is like, yeah, it would usually come out funny, but it was a painful experience and it's not worth it to me.
My mother watches it randomly. Yeah. She's not a big fan of it, but like she'll start it like if she's on the channel or something, and then she's like, oh shit, and then ends up watching it because they're crazy. They're all crazy. Ace, always a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, dude. I always like coming on. It's fun.
Always welcome back. Sean, where can people find you?
They can find me at Math Teacher Movies on Instagram. I do Monologue Mondays, What the Oscars Got Wrong Wednesdays, and Final Shot Fridays. I also do movie and TV reviews from old and new.
And the Awards Watch post every
Monday.
Yes,
I gotta do that. Guy at the Movies, there is the Oscars Watch with Math Teacher Movies. My column every Monday.
Awards Watch, but
oh, it's called Awards Watch? Awards Watch with Math Teacher Movies.
That's you. And you can find me at guyatthemovies.com, Guy at the Movies on Instagram, Guy at the Movies 1 on Twitter and Facebook, as well as Guy at the Movies on TikTok. And a few announcements. Tomorrow, the nominations for the 78th annual Golden Globe Awards come out at 8 a.m. Eastern. I will be up. Sean, I believe you'll be up watching. Ace will text you. Trivia night with Trivia Night with the Chumps is Thursday at 9. We put it out there for all of you to figure out what you wanted to the theme to be and Pixar won out. So we have a really good trivia this week coming up. I'm pumped for it. Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Sean, PSA.
Please, for the love of God, wear your damn masks. And now it's kind of trendy to do 2 of them, so give that a shot. Also, when the vaccine is available, please grab a date and grab it so that I can go back to movie theaters.
Let my grandma get it first, man. She's 90, can't get it right now.
When it's available, when it's allowed. Yeah.
Wait your turn.
It's your turn. Wait your turn. I will not speak because I already got it. All right. So, but thank you all for being here. We will keep in touch about all of the upcoming news, and we will see you all next week. Later.